All right, something very special happened yesterday, and when I say special, I mean something that is needed to happen. The Israel-Hamas conflict, per se, has had a ceasefire deal happen. And what that means to Israel, it's still to be said. What that means to the Palestinians, I mean, it's a ceasefire, it's a negotiation. But what that means to people on the ground, that means innocent kids stop dying, parents stop losing their children, children stop losing their parents. This is something that the whole world wanted, but probably nobody more than the normal, regular people of Palestine that just want to earn a living, live their life, and not have to do it with all this hell around them. So whether you're pro-Israel, pro-Palestine, we could all agree that this needed to happen, and we should all be grateful for it. Now, of course, when something this historic, I mean, I hate to say that this is historic because it really is just a tragedy, but something this big happens, everyone wants to take the credit for it. Of course, President Biden wants to take credit for it. Of course, people are saying it's President Trump's reason for taking credit. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the things that the president's or soon-to-be next president is saying about this conflict and about this ceasefire.
It's a very good afternoon because at long last, I can announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. This is the ceasefire agreement I introduced last spring. Today, Hamas and Israel have agreed to that ceasefire agreement and the whole ending the war.
So there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, let's be real. If this is the ceasefire agreement that the Biden administration came up with, I believe it was last May of 2024, if this is the agreement that they came up with and this is the agreement that they're using, you got to give the man or the administration credit for this agreement. Give credit where credit's due. Nothing wrong with that at all. But then at the end of his speech, as he's walking out, he gets hit. President Biden gets hit with this.
Thank you.
Books credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke?
Oh. I believe that was the only real question that he took. I don't know. I could be incorrect about that, but that was the last question he took. And they said, who deserves credit, Mr. President Joe Biden or soon-to-be President-elect Donald Trump? And Joe Biden says, that's a joke. Thereby, Joe Biden saying he wants to take all the credit, because if you did listen to the speech, he talked about how he's been negotiating all his life as, senator, now president, etc. But does Joe Biden deserve the credit for this peace deal, even though it is his peace deal? Well, let's carry on.
One team, as he put it. Even the Qatari Prime Minister in his remarks personally thanked Steve Witkoff, the incoming administration's Middle East envoy.
Real quick, Steve Witkoff is the guy that President Trump sent over to Israel to talk to Netanyahu personally and say, hey, we need to make a deal. And I believe they even tried to turn him away for a little bit, and Witkoff said no. That's speculation, but apparently Witkoff was very aggressive in saying, I will and need to speak to Netanyahu. So I apologize. Just want to clarify.
So do Donald Trump and his team deserve any credit for this?
I mean, look, everyone is going to want some credit. Everybody's going to want some credit. Get that? That's how this goes when something good happens. Not unusual. It is not unusual at all. What I can say is the president got it done.
Technically, she's correct. The president got it done. He got it done under his administration, just 5 days prior to the new incoming president taking office. But it makes you wonder, why, if they came up with this deal last May, why has it taken 6-7 months to implement this deal, to get it done? For people to wake up and say, oh, all of a sudden, let's knock this out fast. Let's decide now to say yes to something we could have said yes to 6-7 months ago. Well, let's see why.
All hell will be paid. All hell must be paid if they don't release the hostages.
He said, before I take office.
Well, do I have to define it for you? Look, all
No, I know
hell
you're not
will
gonna
break out.
telegraph
If
what-
those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Can you elaborate?
And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that. Steve's got a job to do. He's a Great guy, great negotiator, great person. They respect him over there already. But we have the right person. But I tell this, I don't want to hurt the negotiation. If the deal isn't done before I take office, which is now going to be 2 weeks, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
All right. You heard him first. If the deal isn't done before he takes office, like how before, maybe like 5 days before he takes office, if the deal isn't done, all hell will break loose. That sounds like a lot of credit to Mr. President Trump. A lot of credit. And let me be frank. When I heard him say that all hell will break loose, that scared the bejesus out of me. I was thinking, oh my God, he's not even in office yet, and already all hell will break loose. And I'm already thinking, what more hell could the poor Palestinian people, I'm not talking about Hamas, obviously, I'm talking about the people, what more hell could you give them? Well, apparently a lot more hell, because 5 days before he takes office, just like President Trump said needs to happen, they created the ceasefire. So do you give Joe Biden some credit because it's his plan? According to him, I haven't read the plan, but according to Biden, it's his plan. Of course you give him some credit because it's a plan good enough for them to say yes to. But does anyone believe that plan would have said yes? Like, why didn't they say yes to it 6 months ago? Why all of a sudden today they're like, oh, let's say yes to this great plan? So yes, give Biden some credit, but let's be honest. Does anyone believe that this ceasefire would have happened yesterday the way that it did if Trump didn't demand it, didn't say all hell will break loose? Again, those words scare me. More war scares me. But this was great. I hate to say what Trump would love to say. This was great negotiation. This was great deal making. And I'm going to say this is exactly what America voted for when they said to stop all wars, stop people dying, stop people being killed, allow families to be families. Palestinians are going to have to go through hell for the next generation, maybe 2 generations. At least hopefully now that this ceasefire has happened. Obviously it's easier to say we can start turning the page because it's unfair to the people who are living there. But on a national level, on a world level, at least we can actually then start to turn the page and get to the next steps so people can be taken care of on all sides.